Hi everyone, this is Machine Learning using Python Module 1 of the MLUP 101 and Introduction to Machine Learning. This is part of the UTF Jai Labs, and Jamie Vasawa is your instructor come guide, and we will look forward to his 24 sessions of about 12 modules over the next 24 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, uh, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Geo Meetup Pro calls. With that introduction, this was earlier done as a beta by Jamit, so this is now a solid course because it is already being tested. So with that, I will pass the handle to Jamie Vasawa, our instructor for machine learning using Python, MLUP 101 as we call it. Go ahead, Jamie, take over. Thank you.
So, hi everyone, this is Jayamit Vasawa. I've been conducting these sessions on machine learning, and we have done the beta testing for this course. Also, uh, before starting this machine learning using Python session, I would like to introduce you to the whole uh, course and its contents. So this is the URL for the registration. You can visit this website and register yourself for the Python course, as well as the Python courses over here. Just in case if you are not aware of Python and want to learn Python for the machine learning course, we have the Python course here as well, which has been conducted. And now we are starting with machine learning using Python on 16th September as of today. So you can register over here, as well as regarding the timings and timings of the sessions being conducted. It would be starting around 6:30 to 8, and these are the contents of machine learning using Python that we have planned. So we have first the overview, then the Python libraries, descriptive analytics, probability distribution, hypothesis testing, linear regression, classification problems, decision and random forest models, cost functions, and optimizing base ML models that were made. Then comes clustering, a case study for forecasting, and a recommender system. Now these sum up to total 12 modules. Now each of these modules will have around 2 sessions, depending how it goes. Mostly it will have 2 sessions, so 24 sessions total. And these are the weightage for the marks that are there. Now, getting back to the session, this is machine learning using Python, session 1. So starting with what is machine learning first, or rather let's discuss about the learning objective for session 1, which is introduction to machine learning and a short introduction to Python as well. So what is machine learning first? In a very simple way, it helps a computer to think and do the task like we do as humans in a very simple and a very layman terms. This is how we can describe artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, it is an ability for a computer to think and act like humans is termed as AI. It involves training a model with data sets to learn a specific task and learn it efficiently. This is termed as machine learning. Then comes deep learning, which is a subset to machine learning, where you use complex aggregate learning models and, or methods and networks to enable machines And there is a Venn diagram which shows the relationship between AI, ML, and DL, or artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So ML helps with a lot of tasks, but when it comes to deep learning, it helps us with a very complex tasks, undertaking many other factors, count count them, and give us a very deep and detailed insight into the task. So this is another Venn diagram or a representation of artificial intelligence, which goes a more deeper view towards artificial intelligence and its categories. So we have artificial intelligence, machine learning, then comes neural network, then comes deep learning, and then comes Gen AI. So we have been using computers for a lot of things. And before, if we talk about before machine learning, what we used to do is computers used to help us automate tasks and help us perform certain tasks. But it did not, it missed the part of thinking, where we can call it as a artificial intelligence. So, how we used to use computers were that it used to perform a specific task. It was programmed to perform a specific task. So when we used to program that a particular task, we were not hard coding the task, but rather we were using algorithms. So what we mean by not hard coding and using algorithms. So when hard coding, let's say a very simple example, there are integers from 1 to 1000, and we want to see which ones are even and odd. So we were not hard coding it, saying that 2 is even, 3 is odd, then 4 is even, and so on. But rather we were simply saying if it's divisible by 2, we will say it even, and if it's divisible, or if it's not divisible, then it's odd otherwise. So that's what the algorithm does. These are a set of instructions for solving a problem. So we made a one-stop solution, we made a particular way to perform a task and not hard coded. So algorithms are used as a set of instructions for solving complex problems. So when they improve their performance on getting to objective of prediction or classification, they are called machine learning algorithms. So when we talk about algorithms being used in terms of machine learning algorithms, they take a lot of data in order to learn a particular task. And when they perform in a desirable manner, or up to a desirable result, they they are chosen, and they are used. They can be used for a prediction purpose or a classification purpose. So some of the normal use regarding machine learning algorithms you can see are very common around us, and some of them, when we interact with the web, you can see it, like spam email filters. It simply sends out the spam emails to a spam folder, or categorizing different emails in terms of social media, or whether it's a promotional email or not. Then comes the recommender systems or recommendation systems. Recommendation systems, they help you to uh, help you recommend similar kind of content that a user might like. Like if let's say if you are interacting with a certain kind of content, similar kind of content will be recommended to you in your own feed, or you will be feeded with same kind of content, or the content that the algorithm thinks you like. That goes for Netflix, Amazon, any kind of social media, or other social media platforms. Then comes a language translation services like Google Translate. The input language is different, and it gets translated, and the output language is different. Then comes image recognition software for facial recognition uh, of from differing from person to person. It can have its own various uses. Then comes predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is nothing but learning about the past, what happened, how happened, in order to predict the future events, as well as what were the reasons that made it happen, and also the key factors which can influence the outcomes. And these are the reason that predictive analytics is used, or how it is used. Now, as we are a bit familiar with the machine learning term, let's describe there are three to four most common categories. The first one is supervised learning. In supervised learning, we already know the outcome, and we are teaching the machine learning algorithm to learn a specific task to perform and get its output closer to that outcome, or recognize, or being able to differentiate that task in if it's a classification task. So in supervised learning, we already know the outcome, and we teach the machine learning algorithm or model to learn a task and judge based on the outcome and the quality of result it provides to us. In supervised learning, it learns from a lot of data, and eventually it is trained, it is tested and validated based on the data sets and its performance on those uh, different data sets, and selected based on the performance it gives, or it can be improved based on the, or can be tuned based on the input it takes. Next is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, there is a data, and we let the machine learning model itself explore the data and give us the complex hidden patterns that we are not able to recognize. So that is what unsupervised learning is. We do not know the outcome, and we let the machine learning model tell us what can be the what are the possible outcomes, or what are the possible patterns that are hidden beneath the data. Then comes reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is nothing but uh, a machine learning model learning to perform a task based on a reward and penalization system. If we want a model to perform a certain task in our a desirable way, we reward it. If it's doing something that's not something that we want or we want to avoid, then if we will penalize it based on how it acts. A very simple example for reinforcement learning is a computer learning to play a game. At the very beginning, in the beginning attempts, it will not be able to perform or play the game, and it will make very silly mistakes. But as the iteration or keep on playing, it will learn to perform the task or play the game. Then comes the evolutionary algorithm. Evolutionary algorithm are algorithms that imitate natural evolution to solve a problem. So evolutionary learning is a method where computers try to solve problems by using techniques inspired by how species evolve and adapt over time in nature. So end colony optimization, it's nothing but choosing the shortest path from ants nest to the food source. Then comes a genetic algorithm. Genetic algorithm is nothing but uh, trying different combinations in order to get the best one. Then selection of different things and stuff. So developing a machine learning model. So how do we start developing a machine learning model? What we need first of all is data. We need a we need to collect a lot of data from the source, and the collection of data can also be this step can also be treated as ETL uh, for data pipelines, which is uh, a short for extract, transform, and load the data. So first is extraction or taking data from the source. We collect a lot of data, then we do data engineering on the collected data. Data engineering is handling missing values or inappropriate values and stuff. Then comes feature engineering. Feature is nothing but a term for which will be input to the machine learning models. So we do feature engineering in order to select the features from the data that we have gotten. Now, features in the data set are nothing but, you can say, columns. Different columns have different uses. If there are certain columns that we think might be the key factor or influence for the outcome, we take it or are of use. So we will take the columns or, let's say, features that are most useful to us and train our model on it. And after dealing with cleaning the data in data engineering, selecting the features that we needed, and then storing in the storage in a data lake or a similar place in order to use the data for our desired purpose. So after dealing with the data, which take almost kind of takes 80% of the time while developing the machine learning models. Once we have set the data for our use, we can choose our appropriate ML model. Now, depending on the different use cases, the ML models can differ. So we will be choosing our ML model or depending on the use case that we have in hand. After that, after choosing the model, we'll be training the model on a constructed data sets. Now, data sets are whenever they are trained, models are trained on data sets. The data sets are divided into three parts, which are a train, test, and validation data sets. So these, so first the model is trained on, then it's tested, and then in the end the validation data set, which is the closest to the real world data, it uh, it is evaluated, and depending on the score it gets, let's say from 0 to 1, and then if it's closer to 1, as much closer to 1 it can be used. After after training the model successfully, we deploy the model for our real world use, dealing with real world data. So deploying the model after the model has been successfully trained, tested, and validated, and once the model is slowly released using the canary release or A/B testing or different methods. After deploy After deployment of the model, there comes the monitoring and evaluation of the model. Now, monitoring and evaluation of the model, they are not the task or the steps that are specific to only machine learning models, but rather the whole machine learning systems. The monitoring of the machine learning system, it takes uh, the monitoring it takes is to or the responsibilities this step takes is how uh, each and every part of the machine learning system is working. Are there any failures, or is there any chance of failures? Are we able to predict it or not? Is there any failure backup to the failure just in case if it happens and stuff? And how is uh, the model that we have deployed is doing? What is the performance of it? Uh, are we scoring it on the changes that the data comes with time or not? Then comes the evaluation of the model. Now, some of the steps that are uh, or the points that we discussed in the monitoring can also be included in evaluation, as we want to evaluate the model that we have deployed with time. With time, the data changes. As data changes, the model's performance can increase or decrease. Mostly it will decrease because the new amount of data comes and the model has to be able to adapt. So evaluation of the model, it helps us to know whether the current model is new needs tuning, and or another version of the current model needs to be deployed, as training a model and deploying a whole new model can take a lot of time and money depending on what it is. So those are the monitoring and evaluation of the model. Now we have theoretically discussed about the development of the machine learning models with the data and the machine learning models and stuff. But in order to implement those things, we will be using Python as our programming language. So Python was is chosen for AI/ML as because it is very easy to understand, easy to use. It is very beginner friendly, and this easiness keeps uh, it is easy to implement some of the complex tasks as well. So Python is the most popular programming language for machine learning and AI based projects. Some advantages for using Python for machine learning and AI based projects include less code, because Python's syntaxes are very easy to read and concise. Then access to great libraries and frameworks for AI and machine learning. There are variety of Python libraries that are present, which helps us to perform certain a lot of complex tasks, which makes Python the go-to language for artificial intelligence and machine learning projects and tasks. Then simplicity and consistency. As the code is concise, it is also readable, and that is the reason it is simple and consistent to uh, code in Python. Then comes platform independence. Irrespective of the platform you are using, we are able to use Python. Then comes flexibility. It kind of matches with the simplicity and consistency, and the platform independence, both of them. So there is a fun thing you can try for Python. You can go and just type import this and run the code. So it will tell you about the Zen of Python, or you can say the guidelines of how Python code should be. And this is the text that you will receive. It is maintained, and a lot of points are added once, depending on whether they want to add it or not. So some of the Python libraries for ML. First is NumPy, which is short for numerical Python, a library for scientific computing and linear algebra. Then comes SciPy, scientific Python, library for mathematical, statistical, and engineering functions. Scikit-learn, a library for classical ML algorithms such as supervised and unsupervised learning. Then comes TensorFlow, a library for deep learning and neural networks. Theano, another library similar to TensorFlow. Then comes Keras, a high-level API for building and training deep learning models. PyTorch, a library for dynamic computation graphs and tensors. Pandas, which is written above on NumPy. So it kind of adds uh, additional functionalities to NumPy and the or where the limitations of NumPy are pandas start from there and help us achieve more functionality to the Python. So library for data analysis and data manipulations. Then comes the Matplotlib, library for data visualization and plotting. CPON is another which is written on Matplotlib for the data visualization and statistical graphs. Stats model, a Python model for estimating various statistical models and conducting tests and data exploration. So, uh, as for the learning objective that we have for this session, we had a quick introduction regarding the machine learning. Now let's have a quick introduction to Python. I hope you are able to see the screen. So, for starting, for simply printing a text, you can use a print statement enclosed within double quotes, and you can print the statement. Then comes using a variable and assigning it a value. And then when we print the variable, you can see the value that is assigned to that variable is used. So declaring the variable, we have int, float, boolean, which is true or false, and then comes a string data, which is a textual data, like we saw over here. This is a string. Uh, in programming languages, a string is used for sentences and words. Then comes a dictionary, which is a key value pair. Then comes tuples and list and stuff. So regarding printing, and there are uh, certain arguments that it takes apart from the string that we have seen. You can try to use these arguments and change these based on just in order to see what kind of changes it does. So regarding the variables, we have a variable assigned to integer, then comes float, then comes a boolean value, a string. This is how a dictionary set is used in Python. We have a key, and then separated by a colon, we have its value. And the whole key value pair is separated using a comma, and that is how a dictionary is used. Then comes tuples, which are recognized by rounded brackets. And then comes list, which is recognized by the square brackets. Now, the difference between tuples and list is that tuples are immutable, whereas list can be changed. Then comes sets. Sets are very similar to list and tuples, but uh, they are more similar to list. And you can see that it cannot, just like mathematical concept of sets, this is the same thing in programming language. We do not have any kind of duplicates. So this is nothing but printing the type of the variable that we have used. Because we have used variable 1 as 2, which is an integer, we can recognize its type using the type function and printing it. So it will basically print what is the type of variable that is being used. So it is in type. And so for the all the values that we have discussed. So you can see the bool value for true and false. Then comes the dictionary, the tuple, the list, and the sets. Then comes conditional statements. Now, conditional statements help us navigate the flow of the program depending on a condition that is specified to them. So let's say we have two variables having value 10 and 12. If x is greater than y, it will print this message. If it's not, or let's say if x is smaller than y, it will print this. And in the end, if both of these conditions are not true, it will simply say x equals to y. Now, these block of codes are initiated by the condition, and their action code is separated using the colons, and and starts from the next line and adding a tab space as well. Then generating the sequence using the range function. So range has the syntax of this, which states the starting point, the ending point, and the step. Step is nothing but the value it skips over. So let's say we want to generate a sequence of numbers from 1 to 10. Now make sure that this is the here, even though we want to use till 10, we have mentioned 11. Now why we have done that is because 11 will not be considered. The ending point will not be considered, and a value before it will be. So that is the reason that we have used 1 to 11 as the starting and ending condition to produce a list of 1 to 10. Then comes a control flow statements. For every value that it is true, it will print. So it is basically an introduction to the for loop. So for I, which is an element in the which represents every element in the sequence that we have constructed, it will print its value. So first it goes to the first value, prints it, and checks whether it's an end or not, and it will keep on running until we see the end of it, end of the list. So we have it till 10, so it printed till 10. Then comes while loop. So we have I equals to 1 over here. So for I smaller for i's value smaller than 5, it will print I and increment its value. And once the i's value become equal to 5, it will stop. So we want the loop to run basically till the value is smaller than 5 or 4. So it will print till 4, and in the end, when it's done, it will print done. The loop control stops, or the loop execution stops, and the next statement of print done is executed. Then comes function. Functions are nothing but a reusable block of code that perform a specific task. So in Python, we define function with a def keyword and then the name of the function and the parentheses. Now we have a function called greet, which takes two inputs from the user. And in order to take input from the user in Python, we use, instead of print, we use this input function with the string that we want to ask the user the input, or the string and that specifies what kind of input it expects. So we have the first name, the last name, the country, and depending on that, we have constructed a print statement which which shows how it takes the values. So for the first input, what's your name? Jay. Your last name, VAS. Then the country you are from, then SWZ. So so in the end, it will print this statement and how the format was used. So you can see that the variables are can be simply used without any double quotes, and using the plus statement it will simply concatenate. So you can see for that I've also used double quotes with the space in it in order to apply the spaces. Same for here as well. Then comes the uh, function for mathematical operation. So we have defined a function called math operations or methops, which takes two arguments and the operation it needs to perform. So if the operations value is add, it will add. It will, if the operations value is subtract, it will subtract. And if there is a kind of error, then we can simply state this using the raise keyword, and which is used to say the which kind of error is it. So it's if it's a value error, it will print this invalid operation. Please choose add or sub. So it basically helps us to keep the execution of program on. So add and sub are used, and then we ask the user whether what kind of operation does it want and what are the numbers for it. So depending on that, we get the result, and result is stored like this. So for this operation, we chose what kind of operation we chose sub. The first number was 5, second number was 3, and the result is true as displayed. Then Python has its collections or triples. So working with collections in Python, first is list, tuple, set, dictionary, and we'll go in that order. So we have list represented by the square brackets and values within them. It can have a different kind of elements within the list. You do not really need to have only strings or only numbers. It can be both. Now there are certain methods in order to access the list or slice the list or access elements within the list. So for colors we have this, and for shapes we have this. So for colors it will simply print the colors, but if we want to access a particular element within the list, we can start using index, and index start with 0. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. And because we want yellow as a 3, we want to use index 3 for colors within the square brackets in order to access that. Then comes shape, which is another list, but instead of having a positive integer, we have used a negative integer or negative -1 to be precise, which helps us to access the last value in the list. Then comes a color with different arguments. This is nothing but having the first or the start, the end, and the step value. So -1 is the step value, and for that, if we see the order of elements, you can see that it's completely reversed compared to this. Then slicing is accessing the elements. So we want only these two for colors. So 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, 1 and 2 because it stops at 3. So this is what it gets, what we get for slice start. And if we do not, if we only give the starting value, it will from the starting index, it will go to the end of it. And if we want to experiment with different values within it, you can see the output over here. It skips one value as this is a step that we have given. We can also perform a arithmetic operation. It's not basically arithmetic as it changes its way of working, but we can concatenate using the plus value, and it will simply concatenate the whole list for both the shapes as well as the color, the shapes and the color. Then if we want to check whether a certain element is present in a list or not, so we can type the element and then use the in operator for the list, and we can check whether it's there or not. So you can see that we are getting true for here for this. Then talking about the insertion of elements, if we want to insert a certain elements, you can see that we have 5 elements total here. If we talk in terms of indexing, then we have 0 to 4 elements. So if you go for 5 element and include this as the 5th element or 5th at index 5, then you can see that we have used it using the index. But if we simply want to add an element at the last, we can use append, and it will also add the element at the very last. Then comes tuples. Tuples and lists have the difference that tuples are not mutable. So we have colors1 as a tuple, and if we print colors1, this is the output that we get. And there is this line of code. I want you to try this and see what happens. Then comes typecasting a list into a tuple. So typecasting is basically turning one type into another. So we have a list, and we are trying to convert that list into a tuple. So we use tuple and give the list as an input. So we get this colors as the tuple. Then comes the sets in Python. As mentioned before, it only takes unique elements within it, which is nothing but the implementation of mathematical concept of sets. So it doesn't have any kind of duplicates. So like we have set operations, we have set operations over here in Python as well. So we have two sets, set1 and set2. If you want to perform a union of sets, we can perform it for set union dot union, and then set2 as an argument to union, and it will give out the union of set. So you can see the union of sets is nothing but the combination of both of them and not having any duplicate values. Same is for interaction, the difference between the sets 1 and 2 and uh, the difference between set 2 and 1, both of them. Then comes dictionary. Dictionary is nothing but a key value pair. How can we use it, a key value pair in Python, or what are the examples to it? So you can see that there is a dictionary named Olympic winners in Tokyo 2020. So how many winners did they have and stuff. So we have a country as a key and value as values. So we have keys as countries and the number of winners that it takes are the values. The same goes for Olympic winners for Rio 2016. And let's see some of the print statements in order to understand what it does. So when we use the name of the dictionary and it's a key, we get the value associated with it. Then for printing only the values of the dictionary, you can use dot values and parentheses, and same goes for dot keys and parentheses. And you can get these values. In order to get a more displayable or a readable format, you can use a for loop, use key value in the dictionary that you want to use, and dot items, and iterate through it while printing the key and value. You can get the output like this in a more readable format. Then using the set for it. Sorry. Then using the dictionaries for the World Cup winners of cricket. So we want to simply say that which are the countries who have won a World Cup till now. So for that, we can simply use a set, typecast the dictionary, and simply print it, and we can get the countries that have won the World Cup till now. And you can see that these are not the ordered pairs, as a set is not an ordered pair, so there is no order of any of the elements. Then comes dealing with strings. So we have string 0, string 1, and string 2. So you can see that how strings are set. One is used as single quotes, double quotes, as well as triple quotes. And the triple quotes are usually used for doc strings in functions in order to describe what the function does or what the class does. So doc strings are used for description purposes and in multi-line. So you can see that it is a multi-line comment in a way. Then strings have a few common simple methods for upper and lower, which basically turns a string into whole uppercase or whole lowercase. So you can see that we have for string 0 Python in lowercase, it was uppercase, and machine learning, it had MLL as uppercase, it was turned into lowercase. Then comes token strings. Tokens are basically how individual words uh, construct a sentence. So if we want to create so we can use a function called split, and we want to use it split using a space. So any space will have will be used as a separator to differentiate words and create tokens. So machine learning has this, but it is separated by this. So it is given as a space is given as a separator in order to create tokens, and that's how we create tokens. We are able to create tokens, but you can use a different ways. Here you can use for date. You can use a forward or backward slash in order to format a date and stuff. Then comes functional programming, uh, which helps us to pass functions as parameters, which helps in replacing plain looping. So let's go through it. We have a list, then we have an empty list for storing the squares of the list of the int list. So so we have a loop. We are using a for loop and appending the squares of the list to the square list. So we have our original list of int list and the squared list. Now we can also use a map function which maps one function that is present onto an iterable. So our int list over here is an iterable, and square me is a function that we have defined, which calculates the square or returns the square. So when we use square list and use a map function for the this takes so map first takes a function as an argument, and then the second argument is the iterable, and when we print it we get the output. It's the same output that we did it for here. Then comes using lambda function. Lambda has lambda is nothing but an anonymous function. A lambda function helps us to create a function without naming it. So that is the reason it's called an anonymous function as well. So we use the keyword lambda, then use the arguments that it's going to use, and the expression or the operation that it has, and then take int list as the input, and similar to map function that we discussed over here, and we can get the same output to the same objective in a different manner. Then comes filter. Filter is nothing. Filter is used whenever a condition is true for the elements of the iterable. So every true elements are given out as output, like we see for this. So we have a nums list, we are using filter, we are using the function first and then the list. And for this list being created, for this result being created, we are typecasting it to list. You can see over here, and printing it. So the even nums is going to be a list which consists of this output, whether number is even or not. So we are simply printing the even numbers. Then comes modules and packages. Python is full of various kind of modules for its specific use. Here we will use the time module and use use it to check the execution time of the program. So we are using this time module. We are we have the start time being saved over here using time, and then using any kind of function. Here I've used this. Then using the end time once it is executed, and then using the execution time as an end time minus start time, and printing the value. And you can see the time it takes over here. So you can check it for any kind of functional execution and how much time it takes, and you can compare what difference it makes in executing a function in two different manners, and which are the quicker ones. Some functions can also have a higher execution time because they normally perform complex tasks. But once you give them uh, the task to perform for their own caliber, then you can see the real difference. Then comes math, uh, the math module, which consists of uh, a method called square root. So for so we can use a math module as math.square root its method and give its argument, and we can receive the output for calculating the square root. Then comes a random sample. So a sample is basically, it helps us to create a different kind of samples the for the data set that we give it as, or the range that we want to create. So here I've simply used a range. So as a range, what is the starting point, what is the ending point, so what is the limit between which you want the sample to create, as well as how many samples you want. So this will simply give us a random sample based on that. So imagine instead of range, we have used a data set. So we are able to create a random sample using how many observations we want. So that is the use to it. Just for introductory reason, it is used as a simple implementation. Then using the same sample, we have for used it to create 20 observations. Now there are libraries like pandas which have a different data set. So we are creating a data set over here. First we import the library, then use uh, use pandas to read the CSV file or the comma separated value file, and then for getting different kind of values, we can use pandas for its functionality. So first, to get the number of rows in the data set, we can simply use the length function on the data set, and it will give us different values when we print it. To generate a random sample of 20 rows from a data set, we can use the sample just similar to above one, and also to use the ilog method for random indices as well. When we print the whole set, this is what we get for, this is what it has created for the random sample. And there is also a statistics module which contains the methods mean and median, which are nothing but the statistics concepts. So we can define a function, get mean median, and take the argument as an input and return the mean and the median values for the input that we have given. And for random list that we have used, the mean and median values are 50.1 and 48.5. So this was the introduction to the Python. For continuing this course, we'll be using the Jupyter Notebook. You can use Jupyter Notebook independently or using this and install it using this URL that has been displayed. Or also you can use it through Anaconda. We are going to simply use it independently and use simply Jupyter Notebook. But if you have any kind of other projects you're working on or you have the plans to do it, you can use Anaconda as well. So there are different versions for Jupyter. You can, depending on your own platform, you can uh, choose the Jupyter one that you have to install it for Windows, Linux, and etc. So this is the Python code that we were running was was being executed on the Jupyter Notebook itself. So this is some screenshot that how it looks like for installing and using the Jupyter Notebook or running the notebook on your machine. So to summarize session one, we discussed about the AI ML and how they are related, using the Venn diagram, then talked about algorithms, how algorithms are used in machine learning, then discussed about the various categories of machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, reinforced learning, and evolutionary. Then we discussed about the ETL, extract, transform, load, the and data engineering and feature engineering, and using the stored data after data and feature engineering for our purpose. Then why we want to use Python for its simplicity and the various kind of libraries that are present. Then we shortly discussed about the various kind of Python libraries that are present, and we also went through a short introduction to Python as a language. So in the next session, we will be discussing about the descriptive analytics, understanding different concepts. What is descriptive analytics? How to load and structure the data, filtering the data, handling the missing values, then using different charts in order to visualize our data, and different kind of plots that are available in the matplotlib as well as cbom. So thank you. This was session one for machine learning using Python.
Yeah. So, can you hear me, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent job. I think it was good we went through the introduction today. So, anybody who has not been able to attend will not lose much of a thing, because this is just a revision of Python. And at a high level, you have just classified what is machine learning is, what is AI with respect to ML, with respect to DL, how they are related. Very good. And also you classified and actual whatever content, as you mentioned, you can once more repeat that you said what you are doing in the second, right? Can you also show the screen with what are the coverage you are going to do for the 18 or whatever the number of sessions you have, 24?
And this one?
No, this is for tomorrow, right? There is next session. There is Wednesday. But I want the entire course.
Okay. Course description. This one.
So what are you can just walk through before closing as to what all you are going to cover.
So we have this uh, machine learning using Python modules. So we have total 12 modules, as you can see, the last one being here, and also the project and its submission, and all of them have their own weightage, total being 100. So we'll start with the ML overview that we have already did over here. Then comes the Python libraries and descriptive analytics and stuff. A lot of things are going to be taught or discussed on the go. rather than having them in a very specific dedicated session. We will start learning them on the go and directly through the application process, and directly having an practical example to it. So after descriptive analytics, the probability distribution, a lot of thing that machine learning algorithms does is it does not uh, tell us with the full confidence, but rather it is based on probabilities, how much the it thinks that it is it to be true. So it's a probability based. Then comes the hypothesis testing, linear regression, and stuff. A lot of topics that are present in the machine learning uh, are consisting of a lot of statistics also. So we'll be going through certain statistics as well as different machine learning models, and discuss different algorithms as well. Like you can see that we have binary logistic regression for classification. Then comes the decision tree, and we'll use the decision tree and random forest. We'll discuss the decision tree and random forest for a separate module as well, and also go for the cost function and optimizing the models that we have made till now using them. Then comes the clustering and two of the case studies for forecasting as well as the recommender system. Now, after this completion of these modules, there will be a project that we want the students to take on a subject that they want, depending on the group that they can submit in, and also uh, so select a topic for the project, decide who are going to be the people or the group for that project, and deliver the project for the its intended use in order to get the evaluation for yourself as well as the certificate that we are going to provide for the ML using Python.
Did you talk about the recommended book?
Oh yeah. So the recommended book for this uh, ML using Python is Machine Learning Using Python by Manranjan Pradhan and U Dinesh Kumar, uh, who are the guys from IIT Bangalore, IIM Bangalore. So we'll be using this machine learning book for it.
Done?
Yeah.
Okay. I think thank you everyone, and this is the intended course. Being a holiday today, we didn't expect, but we wanted to start on time and at least ensure that we have enough coverage and there is a qualification or qualifying quiz. So those who register and those who want to gain certificate out of it, we certainly welcome them to doing that qualification test. I think I we will be mailing to everyone, those who are registered as well, those who are attending here, or we'll put it in the chat window. Do you have that, Jamit, right now? Or I will put it. Okay, just hold on. I think I sent it just before I started. Let me see. So we have a. I don't know whether I sent it by.
Are we talking about the invitation to?
No, no, not the invitation. I'm talking about the quiz. The quiz which is being used for ML using Python, right? Is a so for those who did the Python course, And those who want to continue with the ML using Python, for qualification, there is a 10 question, and that question answer I think I had put it on some site. Let me just pull it and put it in the window so that we remember that needs to be used as a vehicle for making sure that everybody has understood that. Okay, just a second, let me pull it. It's on the, no, it was sent in the mail, right? I thought I sent it in the mail. Oh, yeah, I got it, I think. Yeah, here it is. And your registration, yeah. Okay, so before we close, let me just type into the window those who want to really uh, qualify themselves can try this quiz which is here. I think you are able to see that in the chat window. I put it, you can copy paste it. It says this entrance quiz, or rather it is a qualification quiz to complete. Okay, and that qualification quiz which is there below the link, and that should be completed by September 23, so that you have 1 week's time. It's a 10 question with all the what you have seen today. You should be able to do it very easily. And it's a multiple questions. It has some codes, and will ask you whether this is an error or it's not an error. What is the output of this? Like you do a print statement and all those. So it's a simple quiz. You just have to put your email ID and then execute, uh, and then submit it. Once you submit it, you know that at the beginning of the course, this was your level. At the end of the course, we'll give one more to see that you have really covered much more than beyond Python. That is the intent of it. I hope that will be all. Any questions, Nikhil, Kani, and anybody? Anybody, any questions? Please unmute and ask any questions if you have. Okay, looks like we don't have any questions. So I think I'll end the class here and we'll meet on Wednesday, same time, 6:30. And hope all of you will join the time and they will continue. And recording will be saved and be updated. So I'll stop the recording now first.